The concept of aging often arrives burdened with the heavy expectation of decline, yet a shift in perspective reveals it as a season of deepening clarity and intentionality. Society frequently suggests that memory loss and cognitive fog are inevitable prices for living a long life, viewing the brain as a machine that simply wears down over decades. This limiting belief ignores the profound capacity of the human body to renew and repair itself when given the proper conditions and respect it deserves. Emerging understanding of the brain's nightly rhythms offers a different narrative, one where specific evening rituals serve as a gateway to revitalization rather than just rest. By aligning with the body's natural cleansing mechanisms, an individual can transform sleep from a passive state into an active period of neurological restoration. This exploration delves into a specific bedtime preparation centered around a tea blend designed to support the glymphatic system, the brain's waste clearance machinery, through the lens of Dyer, who viewed physical existence as a sacred vessel for the spirit. This practice becomes more than a nutritional choice. It evolves into a nightly sacrament that honors the temple of the body, clears the debris of the past, and prepares the mind for a future of vibrant, uninterrupted connection to Source. The physiology of the nightly rinse and spiritual surrender, the human brain operates unlike any other organ in the body, possessing a unique method for cleansing itself of cellular waste that accumulates during waking hours. Scientific observation identifies this process as the glymphatic system, a macroscopic waste clearance pathway that functions primarily during deep, slow-wave sleep. Cerebrospinal fluid rushes through the brain tissue during this phase, effectively flushing out soluble proteins and metabolic byproducts that can clutter neural pathways. This physiological phenomenon mirrors the spiritual necessity of letting go, a core tenet in the philosophy of Dyer regarding the release of attachment to the material world. Just as the mind must release the worries of the day to find peace, the physical brain requires this biological surrender to maintain its sharpness and vitality. The tea serves as a biochemical signal, a catalyst that invites the body to enter the deep states of rest necessary for this cleansing flood to occur. Understanding the mechanism requires looking at how the spaces between brain cells actually expand during sleep to allow fluid movement. During the day, these cells are tightly packed to facilitate rapid processing and reaction to external stimuli, a state of high alert that characterizes modern living. At night, when the individual transitions into true rest, the cellular structure relaxes, increasing the interstitial space by a significant margin. This expansion allows the cerebrospinal fluid to sweep through, removing toxins such as beta-amyloid, which are associated with cognitive decline. The ingredients in the proposed tea are selected to reduce systemic inflammation and promote the relaxation of the nervous system, thereby maximizing the duration and quality of this cleaning cycle. It is a physical manifestation of the principle that what is tight and constricted cannot receive, while that which is open and relaxed allows for flow and renewal. A common misconception is that sleep duration alone dictates the quality of this cognitive maintenance, leading many to chase hours rather than depth. An individual might spend 8 or 9 hours in bed, but never reach the profound levels of non-REM sleep, where the glymphatic system is most active. Alcohol, heavy late-night meals, or lingering stress hormones can fragment sleep architecture, keeping the brain in lighter stages where the cleansing process is inefficient or non-existent. This resembles a spiritual practice that is performed by rote without genuine intention or connection, yielding no transformation. The ritual of the tea addresses this by preparing the internal environment to descend into the necessary depth. It acts as a bridge, moving the physiology from the sympathetic dominance of fight or flight into the parasympathetic state of rest and digest. For the person over 60, this process becomes increasingly critical as the efficiency of the glymphatic system can naturally wane without support. The vessels that carry this cleansing fluid may stiffen, and the production of cerebrospinal fluid can decrease, making lifestyle interventions paramount. This is where the wisdom of treating the body as a temple converges with biological necessity, urging the individual to provide specific support for these aging mechanisms. The tea introduces compounds that support vascular health and reduce oxidative stress, effectively greasing the wheels of this cleaning machinery. It is an act of self-love that acknowledges the changing needs of the physical form, while refusing to accept deterioration as a foregone conclusion. The individual takes charge of their vitality, not by fighting the aging process, but by harmonizing with the body's evolved strategies for longevity. However, it is important to recognize that this biological rinse is not a magic switch that can override a lifestyle of chronic neglect or high toxicity. If an individual consumes high amounts of processed sugar or lives in a state of perpetual anger and resentment, the tea alone cannot fully counteract the damage. Dyer often spoke of the toxicity of negative emotions and how they manifest in the physical body as disease or blockage. A tea designed to cleanse the brain will be far less effective if the mind remains cluttered with grievances and the body is inflamed by stress. The physical effectiveness of the ingredients relies on a baseline of health and a mindset willing to release control. It functions best as part of a holistic ecosystem where nutrition, thought patterns, and spiritual alignment all work toward the same goal of clarity. In a practical scenario, consider a person who typically ends their day watching distressing news or engaging in stimulating arguments on social media. Their cortisol levels remain high, keeping their core body temperature elevated and their brainwaves fast and jagged as they attempt to sleep. In this state, the brain cells remain expanded, blocking the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, and the waste products of the day remain trapped within the tissue. By replacing this chaotic routine with the preparation and consumption of the tea, the individual signals safety to the nervous system. The warmth of the liquid, the specific chemical properties of the herbs, and the intention behind the act lower cortisol. This shift permits the brain to power down its defenses and open the floodgates for the nightly rinse, resulting in a morning felt as lighter and more capable. The chemistry of the tea works in tandem with the psychology of the bedtime ritual to create a compound effect on well-being. Ingredients such as lemon balm or chamomile contain compounds like apigenin, which bind to GABA receptors in the brain, initiating a mild sedative effect that does not disrupt sleep architecture. Unlike pharmaceutical sleep aids, which often suppress deep sleep, these natural agents encourage the natural transitions between sleep stages. This aligns with the idea of working with nature rather than trying to dominate it, a perspective that honors the innate intelligence of the creation. The tea does not force the body into unconsciousness. It gently invites the spirit to withdraw from the senses, allowing the physical restoration to take center stage. There are instances where the tea may need to be adjusted based on individual constitution or medical history, particularly for those on blood-thinning medication or with specific allergies. A person with severe acid reflux might need to consume the tea earlier in the evening to ensure digestion does not interfere with sleep quality. Furthermore, the volume of liquid must be balanced to prevent the need for waking up to use the restroom, which would interrupt the very cycles the tea aims to protect. This requires a level of attunement to one's own body, listening to its feedback rather than rigidly following a prescription. It is a dialogue between the self and the vessel, respecting the unique constraints and needs of the moment. The process of preparing the tea offers a moment of mindfulness that anchors the individual in the present, separating the day's activity from the night's recovery. Standing at the kettle, smelling the release of essential oils from the herbs, and feeling the warmth of the cup are sensory experiences that ground the awareness. This mindfulness reduces the mental chatter that often keeps the brain active and resistant to the cleaning process. It is a practice of being fully present with the simple act of self-care, recognizing that in this moment, nothing else is required. The brain interprets this pause as permission to shift gears, turning its energy inward toward repair and consolidation of memory. Eventually, the consistent application of this routine builds a cumulative momentum of health that protects cognitive function over the long term. A brain that is efficiently rinsed of metabolic waste every night is less hospitable to the plaque formations associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. The individual discovers that memory does not have to fade with age, but can remain sharp and accessible. This clarity of mind supports a deeper connection to one's purpose and a greater capacity to serve and love, which is the ultimate aim of a spiritual life. The body remains a clear channel, unobstructed by the debris of existence, ready to receive and transmit the light of the spirit. What am I holding onto that prevents my mind from resting? The alchemy of ingredients and intention, the composition of the tea, is not merely a random assortment of herbs, but a carefully curated synergy designed to target inflammation and promote neurological calm. At the heart of this blend often lies turmeric, a root revered for centuries in various healing traditions and now validated by science for its potent anti-inflammatory properties. The active compound, curcumin, has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, where it can directly combat the oxidative stress that damages brain cells and impedes the glymphatic flow. From the perspective of Dyer, using such earth-born elements connects the individual to the intelligence of the source that created both the human body and the healing plant. It is an acknowledgement that the solutions to human physical challenges are often provided by the natural world, waiting to be utilized with gratitude and understanding. Another critical component frequently included is ginger, which works synergistically with turmeric to enhance absorption and improve digestion. The gut-brain axis plays a significant role in mental health and sleep quality. A calm digestive system sends signals of safety to the brain. Ginger also possesses warming properties that improve circulation, ensuring that the blood and the cleansing fluids it supports can move freely through the tissues. This improved flow is essential for carrying nutrients to the brain cells and carrying waste products away. It reflects the spiritual principle of circulation, where energy must move to be alive. Stagnation is the precursor to disease and decay. By facilitating this physical flow, the individual encourages a state of dynamic balance within the system. To directly address the nervous system, herbs like lemon balm or passion flower are often introduced into the infusion. These plants contain compounds that modulate neurotransmitters, specifically increasing the availability of GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory chemical. This biochemical shift quiets the electrical storms of anxiety and overthinking that often plague the mind at night. It is the physiological equivalent of the peace that comes from surrendering a problem to a higher power. When the mind ceases its frantic spinning, the brain requires less energy for maintenance and can redirect its resources toward the deep cleaning processes of the glymphatic system. The inclusion of black pepper is also scientifically necessary to increase the bioavailability of the curcumin, a small detail that represents the importance of synergy and how elements must work together to achieve their potential. An often overlooked aspect of this tea is the inclusion of healthy fats, such as a splash of coconut oil or almond milk, if the recipe allows. Curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning it requires lipids to be effectively absorbed into the bloodstream and delivered to the brain. Without this carrier, much of the beneficial potential of the turmeric would pass through the system unutilized. This requirement for a carrier mirrors the need for intention to carry action. A ritual performed without the fat of intention often fails to nourish the spirit. The lipid also provides a slow-burning fuel that keeps blood sugar stable throughout the night, preventing hypoglycemic spikes that can wake the brain and interrupt the cleaning cycle. The preparation of these ingredients should be approached not as a chore, but as an alchemical process of transforming raw matter into healing energy. The act of slicing fresh ginger or measuring out turmeric powder can be a meditation in itself. The individual observes the vibrant colors and breathes in the earthy scents, engaging the senses and bringing the mind into the immediate reality of the task. This sensory engagement helps to break the loop of worry about the future or regret about the past. It creates a pocket of time where the only focus is the creation of nourishment, a simple act of love directed inward. There is a counterpoint to consider regarding the sourcing and quality of these ingredients, as the modern food supply is often compromised by pesticides and heavy metals. Consuming tea made from low-quality, contaminated herbs could introduce more toxins into the system than it helps to remove, defeating the purpose of the ritual. It is vital for the individual to seek out organic, sustainably harvested sources, honoring the earth as well as the body. This discernment is part of the responsibility of caring for the temple. One does not bring polluted offerings to a sacred space. The effort to find pure ingredients is an extension of the self-respect that motivates the entire practice. In a practical sense, a person might create a pre-mixed jar of the dry spices, turmeric, ginger, black pepper, cinnamon, to simplify the nightly routine. This preparation respects the reality of fatigue at the end of the day, making the right choice the easy choice. When the evening comes, they simply stir a teaspoon of the mixture in a hot water or warm plant-based milk, perhaps adding a touch of raw honey if desired. This simplicity ensures consistency, which is the key to any physiological or spiritual transformation. It is not the occasional grand gesture that cleanses the brain, but the steady, rhythmic dedication to the practice night after night. It is important to note that while these ingredients are powerful, they are not sedatives in the pharmaceutical sense and will not knock a person out. A person expecting an immediate, drug-like blackout may be disappointed and dismiss the practice prematurely. The effects are cumulative and subtle, building a foundation of calm and reduced inflammation over weeks and months. This requires patience and trust in the body's slower, organic rhythms. It is a shift from the instant gratification mindset to a deeper appreciation of the process of healing. The tea creates the conditions for sleep, but the individual must still surrender into it. The temperature of the tea also plays a role in its soothing capacity. Consuming a warm beverage raises the core body temperature slightly, which is then followed by a cooling down period that signals the body it is time to sleep. This thermal regulation is another language the body speaks, a primitive signal of comfort and safety. Sipping the warm liquid compels the individual to slow down. One cannot gulp boiling water. This forced deceleration aligns the pace of the action with the desired state of mind. It is a physical lesson in patience and savoring the moment. Ultimately, the alchemy of the ingredients works because it addresses the multiple layers of human existence: the chemical, the structural, and the energetic. The turmeric treats the inflammation, the ginger aids the flow, the lemon balm soothes the nerves, and the ritual itself calms the spirit. By integrating these elements, the individual creates a powerful ally in the quest for longevity and mental clarity. The tea becomes a daily affirmation that the body is worth caring for and that the mind is a precious instrument of the divine. How does what I consume reflect my respect for my body? The sacred pause and the digital detox, the consumption of the tea, is most effective when it is the centerpiece of a broader wind-down ritual that strictly eliminates digital stimulation. The blue light emitted by screens suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that signals darkness and coordinates the sleep-wake cycle. From a biological standpoint, scrolling through a phone while sipping the tea sends contradictory signals to the brain. The tea says rest, while the light says alert. Dyer often emphasized the need to disconnect from the noise of the world to reconnect with the silence of the soul. In a modern context, the noise is largely digital, a constant stream of information that keeps the mind in a state of superficial agitation. Creating a sanctuary for sleep involves physically separating oneself from these electronic tethers at least an hour before bed. This creates a sacred pause, a space and time where the demands of the outer world are suspended. During this hour, the tea is prepared and consumed in an environment of low lighting and relative quiet. This absence of artificial stimulation allows the nervous system to decompress, moving away from the dopamine loops of social media and news feeds. The brain begins to generate alpha and theta waves, the frequencies associated with relaxation and early operational rest. It is in this quietude that the intention behind the tea can truly take root. The ritualistic aspect of drinking the tea without distraction allows for a practice of review and release. As the individual sits with a warm cup, they can mentally review the day, not to judge it, but to acknowledge it and let it go. This aligns with the psychological need to close open loops before sleep. Unresolved problems or lingering conversations can keep the brain active, preventing the deep sleep necessary for the glymphatic rinse. By consciously deciding that the day is complete and that nothing more can be done until tomorrow, the person grants themselves permission to fully shut down. This mental clearance is the psychological counterpart to the physical clearance the tea will support. An applied scenario might involve a person who replaces their late-night television habit with a period of reading spiritual or uplifting literature while drinking their tea. Instead of being bombarded with images of conflict and fear, their mind is filled with ideas of peace, possibility, and connection. This change in input dramatically alters the quality of the subconscious processing that occurs during sleep. The dreams and neural reorganization that happen at night are heavily influenced by the last thoughts present before drifting off. By curating this final hour, the individual plants seeds of positivity that the brain will nurture and integrate during the cleaning cycle. There is a limitation to this practice for those who live in crowded or chaotic environments where silence and control over lighting are difficult to achieve. A person may not have the luxury of a private sanctuary or complete control over their household schedule. In such cases, the ritual must become an internal fortress. Even in a noisy room, the act of focusing entirely on the sensation of the tea, the taste, the warmth, the smell, can serve as a sufficient anchor. The sacred pause becomes a mental state rather than a physical location. It teaches the resilience of finding peace amidst chaos, a skill that serves the individual well beyond the bedtime routine. The combination of the tea and the digital detox also addresses the issue of loneliness that often affects seniors. Instead of using television or the internet as a surrogate for connection, the silence can be reframed as solitude, a state of being with oneself and the source. This shift in perspective transforms the evening from a time of isolation into a time of communion with the inner self. Dyer taught that one is never truly alone when connected to the spirit. The bedtime ritual becomes a time to strengthen this relationship, finding comfort in one's own presence and the quiet support of the universe. Physiologically, the absence of blue light allows the pineal gland to release melatonin in robust amounts. Melatonin is not just a sleep signal. It is also a potent antioxidant that works within the brain to scavenge free radicals. By protecting the melatonin spike through the avoidance of screens, the individual enhances the neuroprotective effects of the tea. The turmeric reduces inflammation, the melatonin cleans up oxidation, and the glymphatic fluid washes it all away. It is a three-pronged defense system that relies on the cooperation of the individual's behavior to function. Sometimes, the mind will resist this quiet, craving the distraction of the screen to avoid uncomfortable thoughts or feelings. This resistance is natural. The ego prefers distraction to introspection. The discipline of the ritual lies in gently observing this resistance and choosing the tea and the silence anyway. It is a practice of reparenting oneself, making the choice that serves the highest good rather than the immediate impulse. Over time, the nervous system learns to crave the peace of the ritual more than the stimulation of the device. The environment in which the tea is consumed should be optimized for this transition. Dimming the lights in the house after dinner, perhaps lighting a candle, sets a visual cue that the day is ending. These environmental triggers help to synchronize the circadian rhythm, which often drifts in older age. By anchoring the body to these external cues of darkness and calm, the internal clock is reset, promoting a more consistent and restorative sleep pattern. The tea acts as the final seal on this sequence of preparation. Ultimately, this phase of the routine is about reclaiming agency over one's consciousness. It is a declaration that the mind belongs to the individual, not to the advertisers or the news cycle. By guarding the gates of the mind before sleep, The person ensures that the brain's nightly work is focused on restoration and not on processing junk data. It honors the brain as a sacred instrument that deserves to be rested and purified. Where do I go to avoid being with myself? The ritual of the brain-rinsing tea, when practiced with consistency and intention, offers a powerful counter-narrative to the story of inevitable decline. It demonstrates that aging can be a process of refinement rather than erosion. By understanding the biological reality of the glymphatic system and supporting it with the wisdom of nature and the discipline of a sacred routine, the individual takes an active role in their own evolution. The clarity that results from a clean, well-rested brain allows the wisdom accumulated over 60 years to shine through without the obstruction of fatigue or fog. This practice is more than a health hack. It is a spiritual alignment. It recognizes that the vessel must be kept clean for the light to shine through it. The tea, the ingredients, the digital silence, and the sleep itself are all components of a lifestyle that values the self as a manifestation of the divine. The body is not a burden to be dragged through old age, but a temple to be tended to with reverence. Each night offers a new opportunity to rinse away the unnecessary and wake up renewed, ready to live fully in the present moment. As the brain clears its pathways, the mind clears its perceptions. The memory serves not as a storage locker of grievances, but as a library of lessons and love. The future is met not with anxiety, but with the calm assurance of someone who knows how to rest and how to renew. In this state of vitality, the years beyond 60 become a time of immense potential, where the energy that was once used to fight the world is now available to love it. The nightly cup of tea is the humble beginning of this expansive journey. What potential awaits me if I wake up truly clear?